Hi, this is Sweet June coming back at you with another video. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button if you're new to my channel. It is cold up here in Michigan. It's cold. We got hit real hard with a blizzard the other day. What's going on in your state? Woo! But par for the course here in Michigan. Par for the course, you know. That's usually what it does this time of year. So we just got to endure. It's just that when it gets cold like this, I hurt even more. My body just aches even more when it gets cold like this. So it's rough. Anyway, I wanted to talk about the situation with Whoopi Goldberg being suspended. I don't want to talk about that per se because I'm not going to get into all that situation and what she said and all that. I'm not going to speak on that. I'm not going to get into all that. But I just, the point of my video is that I wanted to talk about double standards in the workplace. That's the point of my video. And a lot of people are saying that, and I said it myself, that, and I'm not going to speak on what she said because I'm not talking about that. The show is called The View, and when we're in the workplace, we all make mistakes in the workplace, and sometimes we do things or we say things that that we're not supposed to say, or we do things or slip up and make a mistake. I know there's times when I was in the workplace, I said something that I should have said, or I made a mistake, and stuff like that. And when that mistake was made, being an African American on the job, because you guys, I'm gonna keep it 100. That's my MO on my channel. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. Not gonna sugarcoat anything. But my experience of being a person of color in the workplace is that, the white people on the job have a little bit more freedom and to make mistakes and say certain things or whatever situation is that. But when you're a person of color on the job, when you're a black person on the job, there's a double standard. It's a double standard. I was in situations to where I made a mistake and a federal case was made out of it. And when a white person make that same mistake, they swept it under the carpet. It was no big deal. No big deal. When I made the mistake, it was a huge deal, and I'm thinking I'm gonna get fired over it. I mean, it really, really made a big deal out of it. Case in point. I got to give you a case in point. Case in point. When I worked at the daycare, those of you that watch me on a regular basis know that I used to work at a daycare. Now, this is when I first started the job. I wasn't on the job that long. Still learning the job. I was working in the, because they had different classrooms for the different age groups. This was a big daycare. They had different classrooms for the different age groups, and I worked in the 2-year-old classroom. And when I started in the 2-year-old classroom, and I was what they call the closer. I was the closer, which means that I closed out the classroom. When the last kids leave, I'm the last person in the classroom before closing time, and I'm responsible for cleaning up the room and putting the chairs up on the table, making sure the tables and everything and the floor, everything's picked up off the floor, this and that and the other. They call it a closer. I was the closer, and they had what they call these incident reports. Every time a child has an accident, you have to write an incident report. I don't care if it's a scratch. You have to write an incident report and give it to the parent when the parent comes in, and explain to the parent what happened and, give them, and the parent signs the incident report. It's like 2 copies. They sign a copy, you keep a copy. That's that type of situation. Well, it was a situation where there was an incident report, and I forgot to give the incident report to the parent. It was a huge mistake. Huge mistake on my part. I admit, it was a big mistake. Got busy and everything, and just a situation to where it was an honest mistake. I forgot to give the parent the incident report. A big deal was made of it. It was a huge deal. They had me all in the office. I thought I was going to get fired. I mean, they made a huge deal out of it. I mean, it was a huge deal. Now, later on, the said lead teacher of that classroom, which was not black, but she wasn't white either, but she wasn't black. Let's put it that way. She actually forgets to write an incident report. She literally didn't even write the incident report, let alone give it to the parent. Not a big deal. She didn't get in trouble or nothing. And there was other situations like that where a big deal was made when I made a mistake. When they felt like I made a mistake. There was a lot of that going on. I think I endured more of that on that job than some of the other ones. I would make a mistake, and they would jump all over me, jump all down my back about it, act like getting all kind of trouble and reprimanded and all this kind of stuff and talking to and all this, that, and the other. And then a non-black person could make the same mistake that I made. No big deal. Okay? That's case in point. I got some other examples I can give you, but you get my point. So it's always when you're a person of color on the job and you are working for a white-owned corporation, company, or whatever situation like that, you got to tread lightly. You got to tread lightly. And it's a situation everybody was saying with Whoopi. Meghan McCain was able to say what she wanted to say and say all kind of offensive things. Not saying what she said was right or wrong. Not speaking on that. But that was okay. There was no suspension involved in that. But then the show is called The View. Okay. A person makes a mistake of color, then it's a much bigger consequence. You feel me? It's a much bigger consequence. Man, this video would be an hour long if I told you all the situations where I encountered where there was a double standard. And like I said, that was one case in point. And so when you're a person of color in the workplace, it's always going to be a double standard. You can make a mistake, they'll make a huge deal out of it. They'll make a federal case out of it. Because I thought I was going to lose my job behind that. I'm like, my God, they're going to fire me over this. They had me all in the conference room and stuff, was lecturing me and stuff. I'm like, I'm about to lose my job behind this. Oh, my God. Yes. It was a big deal. But when the person, other non-black employee did it, it's no big deal. See that? They swept it under the carpet. See? There's a double standard. If you gonna work, if you black person and you gonna work in our workplace, you gonna stay in your place, basically. You are going to stay in your place. Okay? If you step outside that line, that line is so, it's a thin line. That line is so thin, a straight line. You got to walk a straight line. That line got to be so straight. You got to walk a straight line. If you're going to work in our workplace, you're going to stay in your place. If you are black and you don't stay in your place, you out the door. It's going to be major consequences if you don't stay in your place. Hey, you guys know how I roll on here. You guys know I keep it 100. I'm not gonna sugarcoat nothing. You guys know how I roll on here. And some of you that's listening to this video, you know what I'm talking about. Put your examples in the comment section. You know what I'm talking about. It happens more often than not. You know I'm going to keep it 100. I'm going to tell it like it is. You a person of color and you working in a white-owned, it don't matter what industry it's in. It don't matter what industry it's in. Entertainment industry does not matter. It happens in all industries across the board. It doesn't matter if you're Whoopi Goldberg, Sweet June, or the average Jane Doe woman of color or man of color. It's the same rules across the board. It's the same rules across the board for every black person that is working under a white-owned corporation or business. It's the same rules. You're going to stay in your place. Okay? You're going to come to work and do what we tell you to do, and you're going to stay in your place. If you step out your place, it's going to be major consequences, and you might mess around and lose your job. Matter of fact, you're lucky if you don't lose your job. You're very lucky if you don't lose your job. But you might lose your job. But if you don't lose your job, you're very lucky if you don't lose it. But see, the other people, non-black people on the job, can make all kind of mistakes and say rant and rave and doing this and that and the other. As a black woman, we're looked at as hostile, bad attitude. We're a walking stereotype. That's the way they see us, and that's the way they view us. So we speak in our mind. It's the difference between us speaking our mind than they speak their mind. When they speak their mind, oh, she's just venting. Yeah, case in point, I actually had that said to me on a workplace. She's just venting. When you want to get some stuff off of your chest, you can't. As a black person, you can't get it off your chest. You gotta keep it in your chest until you get to the crib. Because if you blow off some steam, it's gonna be a whole different situation. Oh, you got an attitude. You're being hostile right now. We feel threatened by you. You have an attitude. Yes. You got, as a black person in the workplace, you got to tread lightly, especially a black woman. You got to tread lightly. And you step outside that box, that line or whatever, off that line, that straight line you got to walk. If you step out of that line, it's going to be major consequences. You might mess around and lose your job. When I made that mistake at the daycare, I thought they was going to fire me. I said, they had me all in the conference room and stuff. I'm like, oh my God. I understand the seriousness of this, but it was an honest mistake. That's why, what do they say? You got to pay the black tax. You got to work twice as hard. This is the reason why we have to work twice as hard in the workplace. But that's a whole nother video. We have to work twice as hard because they're scrutinizing every little thing you do. A non-person of color can make the same mistake, and I've seen it time and time again in the workplace. I've seen it time. I'm type of person, when I go into the workplace, I observe everything. I'm very observant. And you'll learn a lot if you keep your mouth shut, open your eyes and your ears. You gotta close your mouth, open your eyes and your ears. I close my mouth, I open my eyes and my ears. I'm the type of person, I observe every single thing on the job. I observe everything and I observe everyone. I pay attention to everything. So doing that, I see a lot. I don't say nothing, but I'm watching and I'm listening and I'm paying attention to what's going on around me. And when you do that, you learn a lot. You learn a lot. You find out a lot about. Because you have to do that as a black person so you can know how you, when you first start a job as a black person, you got to know, you have to really do, you have to do that. You have to learn your co-workers. You got to learn the work environment, the atmosphere and all that, so you can know how to move. So you got to know how you're going to move, you know, because you as a black person, you got to move a certain way on the job. So you got to take in, got to assess, okay, find out who you dealing with, find out, you know, who going to try to throw you on the bus or who ain't, your work environment. You gotta study all that so you can know how to move. Because if you as a black person, you can't be in a state of oblivion, because you know you gotta know what you dealing with here, who you dealing with. You gotta know what you dealing with so you can know how to move, so you can hold on to your job. And when you leave a job, you always want to leave on your own accord. You don't want to leave on somebody else's. You know what I'm saying? I always say I want to leave on my own terms. I don't want to leave on somebody else's terms if I can help it, you know. So let me know. Hit me up in the comment section. Some of you guys looking at this video, you know what I'm talking about. There's always going to be a double standard. It doesn't matter if you're Whoopi Goldberg, Sweet June, or whoever. It doesn't matter. It's in all industries across the board. The rules are the same. For if you are a person of color in the workplace, the rules are the same. It's going to always be like that. It's going to always be like that. But that's what we got to do. We got to play by the rules or we out the door. Okay? It is what it is. That's why more black people need to have their own stuff. But that's another video. Okay, let me know in the comment section hit me up. Let me know your experiences. Hit the subscribe button, like, and share. Until the next video, peace and love. This is Sweet June.